Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to continue our vehicle project. And in the previous video, we have successfully finalized the banner page with all of those amazing animations and links. And also we have set up the multiple routes for different pages to be loaded up. So if you haven't got a chance to see my first video, please see my part 1 video. But in today's video, what we're going to do is to finalize the remaining pages, like the vehicle details, the library, the vehicles, and service and context. The first thing I want you to focus is the vehicle details. Because when you go to the banner page, there's a detailed link and also the explore button. When you click on both of them, or either one of them, it should lead you to the vehicle detailed page. So far what we got to is to present that vehicle ID on the DOM. But this is not the final result we are looking for. So in today's video, we're going to finalize this complete detailed page for that specific vehicle you just click on. Alright, let's just get started and jump in. So here, you opened up your vehicle detailed page, and you also want to open up your vehicle detailed page CSS. In this page, you will see we have just enabled the ID use parameter hook from React.js to be loaded on the DOM. And now we're going to delete that and rebuild this page. And in this page, we need to think about how we're going to build it. We have the ID that we accessed from the routes parameter. We're going to have to use this ID to fetch the data for that specific car from our API endpoint. This is our mock API endpoint that we have shown how to use it in the first video. So each item or each object in that JSON file have the specific ID. This is what we can get from the routes parameter. We have to use that ID to find and locate that specific object in the JSON file and demonstrate all the information that we need to demonstrate. Okay? So the idea is that, do we need to refetch the data again in this specific page, or because we have done the data fetching in our first video in the app.js file, do we have to repeat the data fetching again? And the answer is yes. It doesn't matter if you do this mock project or you do a real project. When it comes to the individual item, you better to have a separate data fetching in that specific page. Because the first data fetching is only used to fetch the entire data array, which contains all the data that you need. But in the second data fetching is to fetch data for that specific item. In a real project, we will have the URI endpoint. More than likely, you will have the specific routes, the API routes, for each individual item. So we will mock the similar process as well. So that wouldn't make a big difference when you come to the time that you build a genuine project. Okay? So here, the first thing first, we're going to do another data fetching, and after we fetch that data, we'll load the car details in our local variable. And a couple more hooks we're going to use. We're going to use the use state hook and a use effect hook in this file. So we just load them first. Use effect, that one there. And down here, we're just going to say we will build our local state variable car and set car to store the data for that specific vehicle. This is just for individual item, not for the entire array. So the initial state for that state variable should be what? Should be an array or an object. It's absolutely going to be an object, right? This is referring to the individual object, which is this one, something like this, inside our data array, not the entire array, because we are fetching the data for one item only. Okay? So once we have that, we're going to do some data fetching over here. Const. We'll create a new data fetching function, also called data fetch data, but that fetch data only belongs to this page, not the entire application. That's going to be an arrow function. Again, we're going to have to pretty much do the same thing as the first one. So I'm just going to copy and paste and modify it. I'll show you what's the differences and what's the similarity between those. So copy this one and then paste that. We're going to fetch everything from the API as well. It's the same mock API. I don't have a separate API. But in the real project, if you do have an API endpoint for the specific individual item, you can use that new API. But for this one, we are doing the mocking project. I'm just going to use this API again. But when we have the data back, the data come back as an array. However, I want the local variable to be set as an object. How are we going to use that object to store the data? Because the data come back as an array. That's the format. We're not going to use that set data straight away here. But what we're going to do is that we're going to find in the data array which one we are looking for, based on the ID. Because we have the ID being passed in from the routes parameter as a part of the local state. Okay? So we use that ID to get the position of the data in that array. And to do so, we need to know the index of that data, because the ID is just the ID of that object. It's not the index of that object inside a JSON array. The index starts from the 0. The first item, the index is 0. The second item, the index is 1. The third item index is 2. It's actually not like the ID order, because the index starts from 0, right? So we have to convert this ID into our array index. And the way to do so, we create a new variable called index. And we say that parse integer, put in that ID. The reason why I do this way is because when you fetch something from the Rails parameter, it will come in as a string. And we have to get this one as a numerical value. That's why I pass it into integer, because I'm going to use this one to -1. Our ID number -1 will give us the index number. And you think about it, it's correct. ID 1 is index 0, so it's 1 minus 1 equals 0. ID 2 is index 1, so 2 minus 1 equals to 1, right? So we have to use the ID from the Rails parameter to -1 to get our genuine index. That index represents the object's position inside our data array. And here, I could just say set not data, because we have our car function, so replace the set data with set car. Not the entire array to be put it into our set car. We only want the one we are looking at, which is the one at the specific index. The index is over here. Okay, so we just do a teeny tiny modification to our previous fetch data function, and you can have a new fetch data function which fetches individual item that you click on. Really amazing job, right? So this is the reason why I do this way is because we only have one mock API URL. In the genuine project, if you do have a separate URL for the individual item, you don't have to go to the data and find the index. Once you have that URL, what you can fetch from that URL comes back as an object straight away. You don't have to do anything like that, okay? This is just for the mocking purpose. And once you've done that, we have our local variable set to the objects based on the index we are looking at. And now what we want to do is to use effect hook to trigger this function whenever we load this page. So that's going to be an arrow function, and depending on nothing. So here what we put in is that the fetch data function. So when this individual vehicle detail page gets mounted on the DOM, the use effect hook will be used, and the fetch data function will be triggered, and the data will be fetched. They will find the index of the object we are looking for inside the data array and set our local car state variable into that data that we fetched from our URL. Okay, that's all the logic linking behind. So once we have that, we now have our car set to the details.index, and now we have that, which is good. The next way, we're going to use this car state variable to load all the information in our detailed page. So here, what we can do so far, just going to do a test, maybe. And I will say that h1. Let me see if I can do that. Car. Let's see which property we're going to use. Car.title. Let's just load the title to see if it's successful. Okay, so we have that. And we're going to, this is the first item, we're going to that page. You see, we have that title there. Because in the Rails parameter, we have the ID 1, and we're based on that ID to get the index of that object in the array, and then we can fetch the information of that specific object. Beautiful, right? So now we have it. The next thing is to build our page. Instead of rendering that title only, which is just a test, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a page layout so that every page can use a similar layout later on. And the way to do so is that first I will give the ID, and ID for this specific page is called vehicle details. That's the ID, which is unique and belongs to that page only. And then I will give a couple of class names. One of the class name is page, because each page should have a similar setting. It should probably have a page banner image or the page title, that kind of things. So we're going to do some generic setting for all the pages before we start it onto each individual one. And then I will give a class name of vehicle details, which is belong to this page only. What if we have some unique settings or CSS stylings that we want to put on this page only? You can use that class name. Vehicles details. So make sure that the ID name matches that class name. It's not compulsory, it's just a good habit. Otherwise, you just confuse yourself later on when the project goes really large. And the next thing is that I want to do some generic setting using this page class. So all the pages that we're going to build in the future, like all of these, can share that settings for the page, okay? And the way to do so is in our app.css, and here I'm going to put in the CSS general setting for the pages. So I'm just going to put in some title for the CSS, the general page CSS, And for each page, what we want to do is that we want it to have a position relative with 100%, padding 0. Basically, is that it's going to touch the edge of the web browser, and we want to make sure it has a padding to the bottom. And also, in the page, we're going to set a page after, which is like a shade cover, because on the banner, we're going to have a page image for each banner area of the page. So that's going to be a page image class, which I will build later on. And that will take like a 1/4 of the vertical screen. So we want to make sure that the image are sitting there at the top. And I also want to make sure that we have a semi-black transparent cover on top of that image. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to put clear text on it. Okay, so we've done those general settings, and then we're going back to here. We're going to build the image banner inside our page, and that will be an image tag. Give a class name image fluid. That's the bootstrap thing, which allows the image to be responsive and take the whole screen width. The source of it is going to come from our data, because each JSON object contains that vehicle details, has a property named page background image. We're going to use that as our page background image for the banner. Okay, so here I will say the car.page bg image. So you have that image there. And also, we're going to have this new class name based on the class name we have here, page image, because we need to make sure it has a certain height. And that'll be page image. So once you have that, this banner image should be there. Let's go ahead and have a look at the browser. We're going to the browser, and you can see it's there already. What I will do, I'll go from the front page, the banner page, and then once I click on the detail, it should go to that page. Detail, that page. As you can see, the banner image is there. Okay, really, really beautiful. But if any one of you just suddenly notice one tiny issue on this page, our logo disappear. This one over here, right? Our logo's color is black. And however, our banner image is black as well, especially when we add a black shadow for it in the CSS over here. We give a position absolute. Background color is sort of like a semi-transparent black one, this color. So our black image is dark already, and we add on a dark shadow. That's why we'll make the logo looks very, very fade away. There's no strong color contrast for it to stand out. How are we going to solve the problem? Somebody said that you might want to change the background image color. Well, that's not a professional way to do things. The professional way to do things is that regardless the dynamic data, dynamic image the user wants to do, you're always going to have the best result to be delivered to the user, okay? So even the user use a dark image or a bright image or a light image, regardless, doesn't really matter. What matters is that you need to make sure your logo's color can be dynamic, changes based on where it goes. Because we put a dark shade on top of whatever image you pass in, so the background of the logo is always dark. To make it stand out and have sufficient color contrast, we should make the logo white on the page area, okay? And put the logo in black on the banner page area. So the logo has to be two color in this sense, right? So on different pages, the logo needs to change the color. How are we going to arrange that? This is where we can use the conditional rendering of the styling in our logo page, which is the header. So we're just going back to the header, find our logo, which is this one. Instead of rendering that straight away, we're going to render it dynamically using conditional rendering. So here, we're going to think about what do we depend on to change the color of the logo? We're depending on the routes, okay? If the user is on the home route, which is the banner page, we want to show the logo as black. If the user is on other page, because other page will all have that banner image, which has a black background, on other page, we want to show the user logo in black color, in white color, sorry. So that's how we're going to make it dynamic. The routes, location, okay? How are we going to get the location though? We can still use one of the amazing hook from the React roller DOM, and that is called the use location. The React roller DOM has a built-in hook which provides you the location of your routes. So we could just use it straight away. Here we type in use location, comma, so we put that one in. So once you put it in, you have to get the location of it. And the way to do so is to, at the top, we have to create a new variable called location and make that equal to the use location hook, not use debug value. I don't know why that comes out. Use location. Yep, so that's done. So easy. Soon as you have this line, that location variable will store whatever your current location is. If you are on home, your location will be just be the slash. If you are on different page, say for example the detailed one, your location will be /vehicle/1. Okay, so that one changes very easy. So once you have that, we're going to use this location variable to determine the color of the logo. So down here in the logo class, we're going to do some inline styling, but conditional styling depending on the location. Here you just type in style, and then we say it's going to be a JavaScript. Inside here, we say depending on the location dot path name. The path name will give you the eventual path name of it. Location path name. We're going to ask computer if it's triple equal to the home page routes. Okay, the home page routes, which is the slash. If it's equals to slash, basically means we are on the home page, and then we want to render the logo color in black. So we give it a string. Things has to be in string if you're going to render a color. So that's going to be 000. Sorry, 60. If it's on the home page, we're going to make sure the logo comes in as black. Otherwise, on other page, we want to make sure the color is white. So the white color is going to be 6if. So now you have it, right? We make the color of the logo conditionally depending on the location path name to check if it's on the home page or otherwise. So once you have that done, you're going back to your home, and then you see this color stays black as well. But when you go to the detail, magically you will see that thing becomes white. So you see, we can make even our logo color dynamic based on the routes we're on. This use React roller DOM has a lot of built-in stuff. I have introduced quite a few in my video, but in the future video I'll introduce more when it comes to that scenario. This is a really handy third-party library. I love it so much. Alright, so we have that header problem sorted, and the next thing we're just going to go back to our detailed page to keep building that. So below that image banner, what we're going to have is our formal individual page. So we're going to wrap everything inside a container. We say div container fluid. We're going to make sure this one takes the whole width, no margin on the sides. So tab. And inside here, we're going to build the layout first. The layout of the detailed page comes quite straightforward. It'll be like we will have something on the left, no margin by the way, and something in the middle, and something on the far right. So it's going to be 3 separate sections, and which take probably equal or unequal column width. Okay, so that's the layout of the individual page. So back to our code editor, we'll build that layout by saying div.row. We'll create a row first, which is going to be wrapped inside a container, and then we're going to create div.column. On large screen, it takes a 4 column. Okay, so we have that, and then we want to make sure that column area has no padding. So padding set to 0. P-0 represents padding 0. Okay, so once we have that, we're just going to copy and paste because we have 3 separate sections. Each will take 4 columns. And those 4 columns add up together will be 12 columns, which equals to the row. Okay. And for each individual one, we're going to give a specific name for us to control it if you want to. That's going to be the detail left. Based on its position, I give the class name. And the second one is going to be the details middle. And the third one is going to be details right. So we have 3 separated columns, and each control different job. Let's do the first one. The first one, you will have the image on the left hand side. So we're going to load the image and give a class name image fluid. Use the Bootstrap built-in stuff, so that'll make it easier to be responsible. And tab, and the source of that image is going to be our banner image again. That's going to be car.banner image. So we have that. And for the class name, we're going to add a few more to ask us to control it further. And the second class name is going to be the details dash image left, just based on the position of it. So as soon as you have that, we save it. Let's see what's happening. So you have that banner image being loaded on the left hand side again, but we want this one to be more controllable and take more specific area size. And to do that, what we're going to do, we're going to the CSS file to do some styling for the page. For the vehicle detail page, we want to make sure the margin bottom is 0 in specific, because remember, in the app.css, we set a margin to bottom for each page for 50 pixels. That's for general. It's a general setting for each page, but for this page, we just do not want any paddings down the bottom, so we just remove it in this way. And then also, for this page, we're going to add a pseudo element at the bottom left corner, which has a width of 1/3 of the screen size, and also take the height of 60%. The background color will be our theme color. So once you have that, you're going back to the page, you will see that one there. And going back, the next part, we want to make sure our detailed 3 columns, the details on the left, middle, and right, we set the position to relative. And then for the image on the left, we're going to give it a CSS setting like that. We want the height to be 55% of the vertical screen, and take the whole width, position in the center. Okay. So once you have that, and going back, you will see that one sits in a more proper way on the left hand side. And I just like this image to be zigzag puzzle together to give you that sort of a mechanic feeling, right? So we have that done. Let's just keep moving on. The next part, just down below the image, what we're going to do, we're going to put on the price and the contact detail of the seller or the dealer. Because remember, we are building a second-hand luxury car website. Supposedly, the user will view the website, check out the car, see the information. If they're interested or see the car is okay, they're going to contact the dealer to have a negotiation of the price, or they just want to make a deal. Normally, this kind of website do not do the online transaction. It's not like you're selling a product which have a unit price below $100. You can just pay online. A luxury car price is beyond that kind of a level. Normally, it's going to be $400,000 each one. So it's very, very unlikely for people to pay online straight away. So I didn't build any online cart or shopping bag facility in this website because it's not suitable. So here we build a new section like deal price. And then inside here, we want to load the car price. Here I want to show you one more trick. If you look at that JSON file, and on the price down here, this one is 400,178. That's quite expensive car from the Lamborghini, but that's the price for Lamborghini, yeah? Even in the second-hand market, it's still quite expensive. But the price comes as an integer number with no commas between the number to separate them out. But when you show that thing on a browser, you want to show as a currency value, a digital, right? A digital number with the comma separate for every 3 digits. How do we arrange that? There's a JavaScript built-in function to enable this. And I'm going to show you this trick. So first we're going to say, check with the computer to say if the car have a price. If the car has a price, we want to load that price. If you only write this way, and when you go back, you will see that price there. Very tiny, with the money sign before it, but there's no separation comma, okay? To put in the separation comma, we have to put in one more thing, and that's going to be to locale string brackets. And inside here, we just want to type in the kind of unit you want to put on. In my project, I just use English US. So to locale string, that's a built-in JavaScript function. And you'll see that separation comma has been added to your figure straight away, automatically. Okay, you don't have to do this in the manual way. The reason why I do so is because the price is supposed to be a digital number. If you put in your file as a string and you manually code in that comma there, it'll make your number as a string. And later on, if you want to do any manipulations or calculations with that price, it's impossible to achieve. You have to remove that comma from your data, right? So we put our data as a number, an integer number there, a floating number there, and on the presentation page, we use the function to present that comma. Okay, that's the best idea to do. So once we have that done, we have a second line. That price is a drive away price to give the viewer a bit of a motivation. It's a drive away. So we have our price thing set up, and in the CSS, I'm just going to put in the price CSS. So here, we see that. We give a very special racing car font and make it bold, and also expand the font size, make it in the center, and then you can see that looks very, very nice now. Okay. However, for that span of drive away, we want it to be on a separate line, and we want it to be the font size to be a bit smaller. So instead of using the same thing inside the price, what we can do is that we write a separate thing. For the price span, we make it smaller, and we make it sit in the middle, and font size a bit small. And now you can see that one sits on the top, in the middle, and a little smaller. The price is very, very huge to grab people's eye attention. Okay, so that's how we're going to arrange it. And then we're going back here. We finished the price. Below the price, we're going to put in the contact detail of the seller. So here we put in the anchor tag and give it class name contact seller. So have it done. Tab. And inside here, we want to put in the icon of the phone that allow people to call. So on the Bootstrap icon, what I'm looking at is a phone call. And this one looks standard, or you can use this one, telephone or telephone fill. This one looks okay for me. And then we're going back, we'll put that in. Change it to class name, like I reminded for many times. And then we'll say here, contact a dealer. Okay, so if you go back to the browser, you will see that thing hasn't been shown off yet because it's hidden. And we have to give some CSS to it for it to show on the browser. So in the CSS, for that seller part, we're just going to say, we'll give a font. I will make sure it's a bold and the font size slightly larger, and give a letter spacing of 1 pixel, display flags, all sits in the middle, and give some kind of a gap between the icon and also the text words. Okay? And once we've done that, we're going back to the browser. You can see that one gets showed up. Contact the dealer and the phone icon before it. So that looks not bad. So on the detailed page, we're going to show the price of that item so the user can make further action if they wanted to. So that's done. And yeah, that's it. We pretty much finished the first column in that row to load some images and also the contact detail. And I'm just going to close off that column and open up the second one, which is the one in the middle. In the middle, we're going to display other type of information that you want to show. First, we create a new div called content. And inside the content, we're going to say h2, and that's going to be vehicle details. Okay, so this is going to load our vehicle detail. And then in here, what we're going to do is that we create a detailed box. To hold more information. And inside that detailed box, we're going to put in some icon and also some text words. So going to the Bootstrap icon, this is just some random icon that I chose. You can choose the one you think is more appropriate for your project. Sometimes when it comes to the icon, it's the most challenging part because it takes quite a while to find out the one that you really feel appropriate. So I'm just going to choose a smile face. And here I'm going back, put that in. I'm going to change the class name. And then down here, we're just going to create a span. And inside the span, it's just going to be lorem. Give it a 4. So we're going to have 4 words inside that span. So that'll give us a detailed box which contains icon and also something you want to say. Okay. And below that, we probably want to see other words that you want to type in. Maybe you can say a paragraph and give a strong tag. Inside the strong tag, you can see and the rating or some kind of thing you want to type in. Here I'm still going to just put in the lorem of 2 to make it easier. And here after that, I'm just going to say a lorem of maybe 6. So that'll give us a paragraph. This will contain our entire detailed box. And we're going to have a couple of these to expand our page to make them more filled. So I'm just going to copy and paste this one. And that's the first one. I'm going to create a second one, the third one, and the fourth one. So we're going to have 4 of these. Well, you say that, are we repeating? Yes, I am repeating. This is for the demonstration education purpose only. In the real project, these features are supposed to come from your API as well. You can build this data in your API and fetch them using this car.dot method, like what we did before for thousands of times. Okay, but for demonstration purpose, I just do not build the entire data for the vehicle because it's unnecessary. It's not a genuine car website, and I have to collect all the features and descriptions for different individual cars, which is unnecessary for the demonstration project. But if you want to do something in real, you can fetch data on your own and put the data here. Okay, so here I'm just going to using some lorem. It's repeatable, but it's for demonstration purpose only. And we have those. So we're going back, and we can see those things are there. And if I save this file, it should repeat for 4 times, having all of those stuff loaded. It's looking ugly so far because we haven't given it any styling yet. So what I will do, go into the vehicle details and put in those styles. the first thing I want to put is the content. We have to control it. So down here, we say we have a content, give it a padding, and also we're gonna put some CSS routing for the title, which is gonna make it the racing title. And once you have that, you will see this one becomes a lot nicer, especially for that title. And then the remaining job is about our details, the detailed box. So here I'm going to put in all the CSS for the detailed box. I'll explain a bit. So firstly, we give the padding, so everything is not touching on the edge. And we'll make sure that it has the proper font, the background color, also give the box shadow for it to stand out from the page. And we give the hover effect. The hover effect is just pretty much when you hover on it, we make the box shadow even darker, so it stands out more. And then we want to control the icon. We want to control all the span font size and the font style, all of those things. So as we have that, we're going back to the browser, you will see this one becomes much nicer. So when you hover on it, you can see the box shadow becomes darker, and that'll give you a kind of feeling of standing out even more. Okay, but so far we just have the same icon. But what I can do is that I will replace these few icons with some others. In the real work, you choose the icon that you feel is most appropriate. Here I just choose randomly. So the second one I'm going to replace with that. And the third one I'm just going to replace with that. And the last one, replace with that. Save. Going back. Yeah, it looks quite different from each other, but it's for demonstration only. Okay, so we have that one done. Down the bottom, we're supposed to have another image. This image is used to show the car's background or car's features as well. So I'm just going to put that in. Let's see where we're up to. We're up to the content, and that's the detailed box, 4 of them. And now we are here. So it should be below that detailed box. Or on the second thought, we should put it below the content. So we close off that content and put the image below the content is more appropriate. So here I say image and give it a class name, image fluid. And the source gonna be from car.left image. So we're just repeating the image that we used in the banner page, some of them, to build the individual page. The purpose of this education video is to show you how to build an individual page. And if you want to have a new images or new videos, you can do that on your own. So we have that image loaded in. And we're going to have a new class name for that as well, because we want to control this image if we want to. And that'll be details, image, middle. Okay. So we have a new one for that. And we're going back, we'll see that image is sitting there. As soon as we put the image in, you can see this bit gets extended, and that's because the height of the image extended, which will extend the entire height of the section. Okay, and that looks all nice and match up. And then going back to the CSS, we're going to do a bit more controlling to that image or everything else. For that image in the middle, what we can do, we set a certain height for it, just in case it goes too large. And I want to make sure I take the whole width, position in the center. Save it. Back to the browser. It looks all okay for me. Yep, that looks nice. And the last part for us to do, we finalize the middle part. Just close that off. The last part for us to do is the right part. This one. The first thing we're going to put in the right hand column is another image. So this is going to be image fluid, tab, and then we're just going to, access that image, which is the car.right image. So we have that. And I gave a new class name called details, image, right. So we have that left and we have that right. So if we're going to the browser, this one should be there already. But it looks slightly imperfect. And that is because we haven't controlled this details image right. So we copy that and we're going back here. We have this detailed image middle. So we wanted to make sure that the detailed image right gets controlled in the same way, which will take 30% of the vertical screen, and also the width is going to take 100%, and position sitting in the middle. And the easiest way is just to do with a comma, and we just put in a new class name. So that means both of this class will have this kind of a setting apply. Okay, it's very easy to handle. Once we have that, going back to the browser, you see this one looks all nice and neat. All right, it's just the last job is to down the bottom here at this corner. We're going to add 2 square box with some hover effect on it, and down below it's going to be the car description. This will get the entire page filled up. And going back to our detail, below that image, what we're going to do, we're going to create a new div and enable its flex effect. That'll be d-flex. This is the Bootstrap built-in class name, which allow a display flex. I want to make sure it has a gap between the two items inside it. That's going to be gap 2. Oops, I need to put it inside the class name. Okay, so now whatever you wrapped inside here is going to have a display flex with a gap of 2. And the thing we're going to put in is like a icon box. So what we can say here is that we can create another div to hold our icon box. And inside here, we say we have a class name of icon, and we wrap our icon here. The icon I'm going to use is the box icon, which is a different one. I do this on purpose just to show you that in React, there's many third-party icon libraries that you can use, not just the Bootstrap icon, the built-in one. And remember at the beginning of the video, in the previous session, at the beginning of the video, we have already imported that box icon over here. If you go to the box icon website, which is this one, and you click on any of those, it'll show you how you can import that as a web component or as a font. You can do it both ways, but I prefer in this way because this is going to be very compatible with your previous job. So just copy and paste that it's the same kind of logic as how you apply the Bootstrap icon. Okay, very similar. So here I'm just going to copy and paste in the icon that I used for this one. So that one's there. And below it, I will have a title for this box icon, and it's going to be a h4. And in that, we can give an anchor tag just in case the user want to go somewhere by clicking on the title, and we say that Lorem 2, and then we have it. And make sure this one is capital letter, and just below that h4, we'll create our paragraph and give a description class. Description tab, and inside it, we're just going to put on some Lorem words as well to fill out the we have our icon box as a whole. So if you're going back, you see that thing is there. And then we need to have two of these to fill up the box. I want them to align horizontally. So what I will do, I'm just going to copy and paste the entire thing down here. Again, if you do have the data to fill up the icon box, you only need to create one and wrap it into a separate component. You use your data to map it, okay? But this is for the education purpose. I do not have so much data for each individual vehicles, but you can do it on your own if you wanted to. And also, you need to wrap this into a separate component and inject it here, okay? So I have that. And this one, I'm going to show a different icon to make it look slightly different, like that. So now you will have two things sitting on the side of each other and aligned horizontally. That looks nice. But we haven't put on the CSS styling yet. So in the CSS file, what we can do is just that I'm going to copy and paste in that styling. And we will say that save it. This is the starting from the icon box. So in the icon box, we'll give a bit of a padding. The beauty with this design is this hover effects. Because if you look at it, when we hover on the item, the background will change and the font color will change. So you just need to enable that. So when you have the hover effect, first you give a before pseudo elements, and that has the background color white. So when you hover it, make sure that pseudo elements background color changes to the theme color of the cyan blue. And I also want to make sure when you hover on it, the title and all the descriptions, the icons, those color changes to white. That's like the key beauty about this design. And also, this anchor tag is clickable. If you do have another page for the user to see, you can enable that. But so far, we just leave it there. Okay? So that's that part. And what I will do now, it looks a bit messy for me because we're repeating this icon box. The way that I suggest you to do, I'm going to show you, is that in your component, you create a new folder, a new file called icon box. Because if you think this one is going to be reused somewhere else, and you're going to keep that component, you better rewrap it somewhere else, okay? So we say JSX icon box, enter, and then we're going to create that one. And we're going to similarly create a CSS file called icon box. So we have that one. So back to the JSX file, we import that CSS icon box. Done. Okay, so that one got linked in. And what I want to do is that we're refactoring this page. Instead of running the icon box straight away here, what I will do is I will cut and put it over here. Delete this, wrap things in the parentheses, and put that in. Okay, that's it. Very easy job. The only thing you want to make dynamic is the title and also the icon or the description text words. Alright, so those are the 3 areas you can make dynamic. But so far, let's finish off. In the CSS part, let's locate the icon. So the start of the icon is over here. So that's the icon box. And then down the end, that's where I finish. So we're going to have all these things cut, not going to be used on this part, and put it in the icon box. And because this CSS has been imported into the icon box, nothing should change. The only thing you need to pay attention to is that you have 2 icon box, and now you're going to delete the second one as well because we have that separate component. We don't need to do the repeating here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to import that icon, import that. Check above, the icon box has been imported successfully. Because we have 2, we're just going to load it twice. Alright, so but the problem is if you go back to the browser, they look exactly the same because we haven't enabled the dynamic things. And the way to do so is that we have to set up the property. One is the icon for the property. Let me do in the child component first. One is that we need to set up the icon, object destructuring icon. And the second one is the title. And the last one is going to be the description. Okay? So now you have all of those things. And over here, to use those, we're just going to do, you grab the name of that icon and put it over here as the property icon equals to a string, which is that one. And then we're going to say the title, another string, and we just grab that title, that one there. And the description is a bit of a long, that one there. And now you can make 3 things: icon, title, description. So over here, instead of rendering the icon using that hard-coded name, what we can do is to make it dynamic. So this one will be equal to that icon. The property gets linked in. And this one will be the title property. And this one. What I will do, I'll make it even fancier. Description. I'll check if the description has been provided or not. Make a question mark. If the description has been provided, we're going to show the description. Otherwise, we're just going to show this lorem thing over here. It would take a backtick, I guess it would do. Yeah. So that will make a conditional rendering, because what if the user, or sometimes it didn't put in the description for that item, and you still want something to show, which in that scenario, you're going to show the lorem. If you actually load something at a description, you're going to show that description. Okay. So we have that one done. And for the second one, I'm just going to do the same thing. For the icon, the second icon that I use is the world one. So I will just say icon, put in the world. And also the title. Title is going to be the same. And description, this time I just leave the description as a null, so I do not put in anything. And let's go back to there. As you can see, the first one, let me just change one word. The first one, I manually provide a description as the property, and it shows that description there. The second one, I leave the description as a null, which has no value, but it still got something to show, because here we did a protection, which is a conditional rendering depending on whether the description variable has been set or not. If it's set, we show the set one. If it's not set, we show the lorem one. Okay, so that's how you make the component dynamic. This is what I want you to practice, but I think it's slightly more challenging, so I just demonstrate in this video. Okay, so you can apply this trick to all the components that you want to refactor, wrap around, and reapply it. In this case, you're going to make it dynamic, and also you remove that repeating job. Okay, so this is what we're going to do for this part. And once we've done that, we're just going to keep moving on to the last bit. We're going to close off this deflex, and then down here we're going to have our last description of the vehicle and details, description tab, and in here we're just gonna have h4, which is a description, and down here we're just gonna have a paragraph to load the description. And you remember that in our JSON file, the mock API, we do have a description property that loads this text words. We can use that again here. Okay, so now we have that. If going back to the browser, that thing's there, but the alignment isn't correct. So what I will do, close off those boxes, and going back to the vehicle details, what we're going to do is just add some paddings to it, and that'll make it look nice and neat. So once we add on the padding, you will see this one looks all perfect in terms of alignment. Alright, that's how we build an individual page for each item. And if you're going back to the home page, you slide to the next one, you click on the detail, and you can see all the things have been changed magically, dynamically, according to the one you click on, which is perfect. This is the way we're looking at, right? Imagine that is a viewer looking on the banner page, and suddenly he spotted a car that he's really into, and he just wants to see what the price of it and how to purchase it. And once he clicks on the detailed button or the explore button, it gets him to that detailed page. After exploring all these details and also the informations, he contacts the seller and have the deal done. Alright? So this is the beauty with the multiple page. It allows you to have that individual item page. Okay, so we've done one, and which is the details one. But we haven't got the remaining page done yet. The next one I want to show is the most service vehicle page, which is this one. In this part, we're going to build a page that will load all of our vehicle catalogs. In our API, as you can see, we actually have 9 vehicles as a sample data. That's how much I can collect. However, on the banner page, if you're going back to the home, on the banner page, we only show the 5, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only show the first 5. The remaining 4 items never gets to show, and we're going to load it on the more vehicle page as a catalog. Okay, let's just jump in and do that. So back to the editor, we close off that detailed page, which we have finalized, and the same for the banner. And then we're going to go to that vehicle page and also open up the CSS. In the vehicle page, if you look at the browser, click on this more vehicle. So far, we're just showing that the vehicle has nothing else because we only have one text line there. And we're going to build a similar page as to that vehicle detailed one. So what we're going to do, we're going to delete this, and inside this div, we're going to create a class name, same as before. We'll give the ID first. So ID is going to be vehicle, plural, and class name, page, which is a generic class name for every page we're going to build, and also a specific one for this page only, vehicles. Alright, so we have that done. And similarly, we're going to load a background image because we have those generic settings already. So this one, you could just simply type in image, fluid, and then the source is going to come from our background image, or you want to have a specific image for that. Just think about, for that individual page, we can have this background image dynamic. For this one, it's just a catalog page that loads all the vehicles. We can use a static image background for that one. Okay, so what I will do is that in the image folder, this one that we built in the previous video, I'm going to put in a static image which will apply to every single pages other than that individual page for vehicle. So I'm going to copy and paste. So this is the background image I'm going to use for all the pages banner, and I'm just going to import that above the top. Import, give it a name, bg image from image folder, that one there. So the way the React work is that you cannot put your URL or your source directly into this source parameter. It comes as an object. you must store this one into the variable before you can use it. So now you can have that image. And then we'll give another our page image class once you add that on, because we have predefined this one in our CSS over here, right? And it applies to every page. So once you have that, going back to your browser, you will see, wow, this one changes already. And that logo looks all white, and the background image looks all okay. Okay, you don't have to do anything. This is the beauty in React. You can predefine all the things, and now you're just going to apply your job. So once we have that done, the next thing is that we're going to load all the data that we have fetched from the mock API. And think about, for all the data, we have actually fetched them in the app.js file. Do we have to fetch all the data again? No, because we fetch data and we store the data into our data state variable, and we pass that data as a part of our variable value using that use contact hook. We already passed this one in, and then we can share that value inside our context for any layers that has been wrapped by it. Okay, and double check that is our vehicle component wrapped by the app context. Yes, it is. So we can use that data straight away. And the way to use it is we have to call that use context hook right above, and then we have to let the computer know which context you want to use. So we say import app context. That's the one we're going to import. And down here, we just say we want to use the data value, and also we want to use the set data function from that app context. So we say use context, app context. So in the previous video, we have talked about and discussed, explained what the use context hook is. If you get troubles or you got confusing over here, just jump back to the previous video to see what's going on with the use context hook. Basically, we just create something globally, and we can store value in that global environment and share that value across each child component wrapped by it. Okay, so here we create something and store in the local variable in the app, and we share that app local variable using that contact variable. So every child component wrapped inside that app context can use that value, which is the data and also set data. So here in the vehicle, we just want to use that data and set data. We did the object destructor from the app context variable. However, I want to rename this, rename the data to car, plural, and also set data to set cars. Otherwise, it's a pretty generic name, not specific to our application. So that's done. This is the JavaScript syntax. Okay, when you do the object structuring, you can use the colon to rename it to something else. It will contain the same value. And once we have that, down here, we're just going to do the mapping of all the vehicles. So we create a container, and we're going to have a page title for this one because it looks nicer. So what I will do, I will create a separate component to load our page title. The reason is because I'm absolutely going to reuse this page title on other area of our application. So in the component folder, create a new file called page title. Page title JSX, enter RFCE, the boilerplate's done. And then you want to create a similar thing. That will be a CSS file. And then inside the page title, it's a very simple object, a very simple component. What we can do is that we did a div dot page title, and we're gonna tab to create that one. And also we give a margin to top of 5. The margin MT starts from 1, finish at 5. 1 means the smallest margin, 5 means the biggest margin. It's a Bootstrap built-in class for margin. Okay, if you want to have a simple application, do not want to write your CSS, you can do it that way. And inside the title, we're going to have a h2, which holds the actual title. The actual title should be injected as a property. And also, we want to have a subtitle for this one as well. So here, we're going to have this one wrapped in the title. And down here, we're going to have a paragraph to hold our subtitle. All right, very simple. That's it, all done. And in the CSS part, I'm just going to copy and paste in the page title. So here we got the page title. We want to make sure it has a margin for bottom as well, and also give a certain padding. And also the page title we can give a pseudo elements, which is just going to be a bar underneath. And also we want to make sure it has a title of that theme font, which is the card racing font. Make it larger and make it bolder. And also we want to style the paragraph, make it smaller and make it thinner. Okay, the color is different as well. We have that. Let's see, we haven't imported CSS yet. So over here, same folder, page title, we import that. So that's done. So whenever we use this component, we just need to inject the title property and also the subtitle property, and we can have this component created. So over here in the vehicle, I'm just going to import that page title. Second one, close it, and we give a title name as a string. Let's see, what name should we name this one? I'm just gonna see vehicle catalog, make it simple. Yep, so also we're gonna have a subtitle, which is going to be a string as well. So just gonna simply put in, here are our new arrivals. Okay, so now you have your title and subtitle, and you have your component imported successfully right above. If you go back to the browser, you'll see the titles there. And this one is definitely reusable, because in other page, you want to have a new title, you just need to import this component and change the title and subtitle property. You will have a new title page, okay? And that's done. And below that, inside the container, we're gonna do the mapping, but we're gonna wrap everything inside that inside the row. Over here, we're gonna use the card data that we shared from the app.js and mapped into our, let's say, vehicle card. This is gonna be a card building, okay? But before that, we just want to test out if we have injected everything successfully. Let's just say, if card has been loaded and if card's array is not empty. So not empty means that must be greater than 0. If both are successful, then what I would do a mapping. So car.map. Inside here, it will be car arrow function. What I will do so far is just that I'm going to map it into a h1 just to test out if it has been successful. And this is going to be our car dot let's just say title, and must give it a key, car dot id. Okay, so if it's successful, as you can see, all of our 9 cars has been successfully mapped here as a title. So that basically means we have fetched data successfully. What I will do next is that instead of mapping into a h1 title, this is supposed to be the vehicle cars. So let's build the cars and remap them. Instead of writing the card here, the proper way to do is to write a new component inside the component folder. So let's just do vehicle card.jsx. Say E, that's done. Close off those previous ones. These are not useful anymore. And a CSS file, vehicle card.css. And we're going to do import vehicle card.css, okay, from the same folder. And that's done. That's all linked up together. And now we're building our card over here. Once we build this card, we're going to import this card as a component and then map the data into that card. So we'll have the card in a similar CSS style, but with different data, okay? Yep. But don't underestimate the value of this card. It's like the second most sophisticated component in our application, because it contains many features and also many functionalities. So inside our card, what we can do is that we can define the columns of it. So delete that. We're still going to use the div. And I will say that give a class name. We want to use the bootstrap column to define it. So let's say on the large screen, we want the card to take 4 columns. And on the middle screen, we want the card to take 6 columns. So on the large screen, there will be 3 cards displayed at a time. But on the middle screen, there will only be 2 cards. Because remember, 1 row equals to 12 columns. So 12 divided by 4 equals to 3. 12 divided by 6 equals to 2. Okay, that's the logic. And then in here, we're going to build our genuine card. And that'll be div.vehicle tab. So I separate them out. So that bootstrap thing is separated from our genuine class. So they won't be missed out. And the first part I want to put in is an image. So I create a div and use it to hold our card image. That'll be vehicle image, and inside here, we're just gonna load the image. But think about where the image comes from. The image comes from our data, right? And each one of those JSON object contains the banner image. We can use it again for our card. However, when we do the mapping over here, we're gonna map this car objects into our child component, which is the vehicle card, like what we did in other scenario. So here we can take the car object, which contains the entire car details and data as the object. We can inject that as a property into this card. So once we have that, we can use it here. So here we just say image, give the class name, image fluid, tab. The source of that image must be car.banner image. Okay, so now we have it. That's how we do the mapping, how we do the property injection. So we've done that. The card is in, and we mapped it into our image. Let's just go back to our parent component, vehicle. Instead of mapping it into the title, I'm going to delete this one, entire one. And then I'm going to map it into our card, which is our vehicle card. I did that. Double check the above. This one has been successfully imported. And then inside here, I give the key of the car.id. And then also, I want to put in that car property with the value of the car object. Okay, so in that way, we have passed in this car as an object, and we can take that object over here. So now, supposedly, we should have the image ready for our card. Let's just go back to the browser to see, wow, it's there already. We have the 9 car images all loaded up, and the layout looks pretty nice though, even though we haven't done any CSS. See, this is the beauty of the Bootstrap. When you have the Bootstrap, you have the layout set up really easy. So our next job is to create the remaining part of the card, which is the titles, the click buttons, and like buttons, all of those things. All right. So going back to our card, and below that image, what we're going to create is the title. So that's going to be a H3. But inside H3, I'm going to create a link. So whenever the user click on the title, it also allows the user to go to the detailed page. Just give the user more place to fetch the data on our website. But instead of writing the anchor tag, I'm going to write a link, which is the one from the React.raw.dom. Oops, didn't import it. This one. Import from React.raw.dom, and then we close that. And inside here, I'm just going to put in the title. Okay, so if going back to the browser, that thing's there already, the title. And the link, I want to set up the tool, which is the target destination of it, and make sure it's going to be in the backtick. And we want to say vehicle. We want to lead to the detailed page, but we must pass in the ID, vehicle /$. We pass in the car underscore ID. So now we can go to the detailed page. If we click on it, just go back and try this one, Lamborghini, and that one goes to the Lamborghini detail page. You see? So we're going back to that vehicle. Close this off. It's still there. We have the title done. And then the next part is we're going to have some rating features over here, like some stars. So this car maybe it's a 3 stars, it's a 4 star, 5 star. And we have that rating data here as well, which I set for each car have a rating property with a value on it. So we're going to use this one, this digital number, to build our stars. If it's 5, it's going to be 5 stars, 4, it's going to be 4 stars, okay? But think about, it's just like a converting. We're converting a digital number into a physical icon. How are we going to handle that? We're going to create a separate component to build our vehicle rating, okay? So inside the component folder, we do a new one called vehicle rating. This is why I tell you this card looks simple, but it contains the most sophisticated and complicated things inside it. It's never going to be easy to build the product card. And that one's going to be JSX. Enter RFCE. We have a boilerplate. And just going to be a new one. Rating.css. We have that one done. Import it. Okay, so that's in. So inside here, we're going to have to write a variable or have some variable to determine how many stars we are going to generate and render on the DOM. We're going to depend on what? Depend on the rating, right? The rating has been provided in our JSON file. So we're going to write our rating over there. But where the rating comes from? The rating comes from the vehicle card. So going back to the vehicle card, here we're going to import this vehicle rating component. Vehicle rating component. And we're going to pass in that car rating as a parameter of it. Okay, rating equals to car.rating. So now we can successfully pass in that rating in our JSON object into our vehicle rating as a property of rating. And now we take that property rating. Okay, so down below here, what we can do so far, instead of returning something, let's just say if we have done it successfully, just give a h1, say rating, see if we can get it. Yeah, the rating is there, 5, 4, 5, 3, 4, 3. You see, the number's coming. Okay, that's how we get it. But we want to show as a star instead of a digital number. How are we going to do that? We're going to write a few functions to convert that rating digital number into a star and map that star onto our browser. That's the logic. Okay, so the first function we're going to write, a state variable to store the stars. So const stars, set stars, and then that one going to be a use state hook. And then, oops, the auto importing is not working. Try another time. React, yeah, it's done. See, when you type in, and you can also do the importing at the same time. You don't have to manually type in that thing. Once you get fluent with React, you'll find that this is very easy to use. And initially, the star is going to be an empty array because it holds no star in it. But as soon as we generate everything, the star will be filled with the numbers of stars in it. So let's just do another function called generate stars. That's going to be an arrow function. So inside the arrow function, we create a new empty array called stars. This is the local, which is different from the one outside. This is for JavaScript the syntax. When you use let to create a variable, that's going to be a local variable only apply inside that function, which is the generate stars. Okay. When you use const to generate a variable, that variable is like a sort of a global thing. It applies everywhere on this page. Just bear that in mind. The differences between this, how you're going to name the variable. The scope of the variable applies different depending on how you create it. It's a very basic JavaScript syntax. Just a quick reminder. So we create a local one, star equals to that. And then we say, first we want to check out if it's a valid value. If the rating is above 5 or below 1, it's an invalid value that has been passed in. We're not going to do anything. So if the rating is greater than 5, or the rating is less than 1, it's going to be invalid. If it's invalid, we're going to jump out of this function and do nothing. So we say return. Otherwise, we're going to generate a loop. This loop allows us to turn our rating number into an array. So we say let I equals to 0. We start from 0 and semicolon. For I less than the rating number, so what we're going to do is I++. And inside here, we're just going to do a push. Because we have our local empty star as an array, and that one will get push the new value into it, which is the I. If your rating is 4, so the star array will be pushed in 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 digit, end up with a digital array, okay? If your rating is 3, and your star array will be 1, 2, 3 in the end. That's what I want to generate. I just want to generate a digital array that contains the digital value up to the rating you have passed in. Okay, so once we have that, we return it. We return a local star. This is what we want. We create a function and we generate a star array, and that star array contains the digital number, which is up to the value of the rating you passed in. That is how we can convert that digital number into an array, which is perfect. And once we've done that, we're going to have to do another thing. How are we going to trigger this function? We want to trigger this function whenever our rating component gets mounted on the DOM. So we use that use effect hook to do the mounting stuff. Use effect hook, see, that one gets automatically imported. And inside here, it takes the arrow function. So we're going to say, and also empty array. We generate that. We call that generate function. Generate stars. We call that a function. But we call that a function. The function will return us with a new array which contains the value up to the rating. Okay? How are we going to use it locally? We still have to set our local state variable, the stars, of the return the stars from that function. Right? So instead of writing that, what we're going to say is set stars that. Remember, this function will return an array, and our star local variable initial state is an empty array, and then it's going to be set to the array that has been generated by this function. Alright? All logic making sense. And soon after that, we have this new local variable array, and we can map this into the numbers of stars we want, which is over here. So down here, instead of saying that, we're going to say the div give it class name and call it stars. And inside here, we say write those JavaScript stars, which is a local variable star. We map them. Map that into star that. What we want to map it into is the genuine star from the bootstrap icon. So I'm going back to the bootstrap icon and find the star. Yeah, that one is the star field. So we select that one, copy that one. So that's how you're going to map it into a genuine star. And remember, this array contains the number up to our rating. So if your rating is a 5, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your star going to be mapped 5 times. That's how you have the 5 star physically in the end. Okay. And also, when you do the higher order function mapping in the React app, you have to set up a key. But here's the problem: the key must be unique. Can we use the star digit as a key? I don't think we can, because that's not very unique. Let me think if it's unique. Yeah, it should be unique. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no repeating. That's okay. We use that. We're just going to pass in that star as the key of it. So now you achieve both. You have the unique key, which I set for the digital number, and then you have the repeating of the physical star for the numbers of items inside of the array, because the numbers of items inside of the array matches the rating that you passed in. This is the logic. Okay? And that's how we generate all of those things. If we're going back to the browser, and you can see the stars there, and now it's dynamic based on the ratings stored in our JSON file, or that we accessed from the API route. It's all dynamic, except that we haven't put on the CSS for it. So the next job, I'm going to the vehicle rating CSS. Just going to modify this page, and then we'll finalize this rating stuff. And alright, can only take 2 lines of code. We'll give a start a bit of padding and a margin, and we'll set a color to that yellow color. And once we have that, it's going back. And that should be working. Yeah, it looks all nice now. I have the yellow star now. Alright, so we're done the rating. This one part is done. That's done. And now we're going back to the vehicle cars. We're up to the rating part. And the next one, we're just going to keep building our subtitles or some descriptions and also our buttons. Okay. So here, I will put a paragraph. And inside the paragraph, we will put in the description. But we think about one issue with the description. Let me show you for now. Description. If we put it like that, when you go back to the card, it will say, wow, that's way overloaded. The card is supposed to be a small thing just for demonstration purpose and give the person some attractive impression for them to click on instead of showing the detail. But the description is too long. You see, this is a mock project, a mock data. If it's genuine data, the card description might go over maybe 1,000 words. And you're going to show 1,000 words on your card, which is unrealistic. So what we're going to do, we're going to limit the numbers of words showing on the cards to make sure they all align nice and decent. Okay. So what we're going to do here, we're going to use a substring function. Substring. And I have to tell the computer where you want to start, where you want to finish. We want to take the first 30 letters inside the string. And then after that, we just put a dot, 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 means that it's not finished yet. As soon as you have that, when you go back, it only shows the first 30 letters. Okay, 30 characters. That looks much nicer. Alright. And the part after it is going to be our price section. So here we're just going to create a span and give the class name a price. And inside here, remember how we did in our previous section of that detailed card. We're going back to the card detail, this one. And over here, in the top row, we have this one done, right? So it's going to be the same code. We just want to show you the price. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. Save. So now we can check with the computer, do we have the card price? If we have it, if this one's truthy, we're going to show the next. Otherwise, we show nothing. And then we can see all the price has come in, showing properly, and also with the money sign, and also with the comma separation. All right, so that price is done. And the last part, and the most important part, is going to be our button. So I say buttons. And inside here, we're going to have two buttons. One is for the like, the other one is for the detailed page. The detailed page is easy because it's just going to be one target link which lead the user to the next page. But the like button does require a lot of building work. So let's just wrap them out for now. Put on the link. And do we have that from the React roll down? No. Create that. That one is correct. So above, that one has been imported as a link. So the first link, what we're going to put in is going to be the like. And we're going to go to the bootstrap icon to find the heart. So heart with a fill, this one. Copy that and paste it. And the next one, link, and this one, okay. We're just gonna close that. This one gonna be detail, and we go to bootstrap icon to find a plus sign. Just the thin one, the thin large one. Yeah, the larger plus sign looks better. Just gonna put plus that, and going back, put that in. Make sure you change that class name, the class to class name. Okay, so once you have that done, we're going back to the browser. Those two buttons there, even though it's not a function, but the card is nearly finished in terms of the layout. The next job is going to put on the two. The first one is going to be the same. So the title will get user to the detailed page, and also the detailed button will get user to the detailed page as well. So we're just going to copy and paste that one. So give it a class name, so we can control it. Details. And this one is pretty much done, that button there. And I will show you quickly how we handle that like button, but let's just finish out the card layout first, because so far it looks and not that bad, but the button is not correct, it's not properly styled, the font size is not correct. Let's just finish out the CSS styling first. So we're going back to the vehicle card. I'm just going to copy and paste in the CSS. So make sure it's position relative, give a margin to bottom, otherwise they all attach to each other. Give a shadow box for it to stand out from the page. And also we want to make sure that image has a hover effect when you put your mouse on it. So transform scale 1.1. And you want to make sure that your font size has been set properly for the title, and also your anchor tag has some sort of a hovering effect as well. Let's see what's going on there. Yeah, the image hovering effect is on. You see, when you put a mouse on the card, the image actually expands a bit, zoom in a bit. Okay, so we have that. And also, we want to make sure the paragraph inside have a proper padding as well. So we set a padding for the paragraph and also the margin. So the paragraph looks all nice and neat. And in terms of the price, I want to make the position of that price element position absolute, because it's sitting on a certain position will be better. Make sure the font family changes to our theme font and the flow to the right. You see, that one goes there. That looks pretty decent. And the remaining job is just the two buttons. So down here, first let's make a generic setting for those two buttons. We want to make sure the button class, which is this one that wraps the two buttons, has a display of flags and space between. So those two are sitting on the edge of the card. And then for each of those, we'll have some generic setting. For the anchor tag, we make sure the color is white, background color is the theme color. And then you will go back, you will see both of them look the same, but we can make sure one different from another by saying that for the detailed button, we want the color to be white and the background is the primary, the theme color background. And also make sure that the detailed button has a hover effects. So if you go back, you will see when you hover on it, the background becomes black, becomes white, and the font color changes to the theme color. And for the like button, it's going to be different. The like button, we want to make sure the background is red. Did I forgot to put on the class name for it? Yeah, the like button, we didn't put on the class name for it. Put on like, and that one goes to red. And then you want to make sure it has a hover effect as well, and also the active. So when the like button is on hover or on active class, we want the color to be red and the background to be white. So when you have that, when you hover on it, this thing will change it. You see? Beautiful. So our card has been done in terms of the layout and the CSS. Now the final job is to enable or to activate this like button. When the user click on the like button, and this item should be added into our library, and the library icon here, the badge, should increase accordingly depending on how many items you have liked. Okay, let's just finalize that. Close this off. And we're going to do the majority of the job over here. To do the library, we have to think about how we're going to store the things that the user like. Whenever the user clicks on a liked item, basically means that they have found an object that contains all the class details. Something like this. The user click on one of the vehicles inside your catalog, it's clicking on one of those objects in the JSON. We have to find a place to store the user's clicked item or the clicked object. And that's going to be a new array, right? We need to create a new array called library to store the item the user actually click on. Whenever the user click on, that thing will be pushed into that new array. So the first thing for us to think about is where to create that new array. Do we create a new array inside our card, or do you want to put it somewhere globally? You think about it. If you look at the app.js file, you will find that we have another page called library, which is specifically targeting at store users likes item. And this one has been located on the app.js page. Later on, we're going to trigger the like events in our vehicle card, and that item must be fetched in our library page, because the library page will load the user's liked item, right? So if we build our array locally in the vehicle card, how are we going to share it with the library page? It's incorrect. Okay, so the best place to put our new array for the libraries to store the liked item is at the app.js file. So over here, what I will do now is that I will create a new local variable called library and a new function called setLibrary. Using that use state hook. The initial state is going to be an empty array, same as before, because the user haven't liked anything yet. And I save that. And the way to use this, I think about how we're going to pass these library variables into all these layers. Wherever you want to use that library array inside your different page, you can access it. We have this magical thing, remember? We have this use contact hook that passes our card data, the original card data already. Why don't we just use it again to pass in our library array? Okay, this is like a very easy and handy job. So besides it, we're just going to type in library and set library. That's all. We pass in that array and also the array setting function into our context hook. So this context variable will share these two things with all of those things wrapped in it, including our car, our vehicles, and also our library. Those are the major two places that's going to use that. And also header as well, because header, we're going to access the numbers of items the user has liked. Okay, so we have that, and going back to our vehicle card, we're going to access that library. And the way to do so is to use that use context hook. So down here, I'm just going to make the things quicker, because you see me typing those code many times. You should be familiar with it. So I can just do it in a quicker way. I intentionally to do it slow for you to easier to comprehend what's going on. But once you're familiar with the process, when I do the repeating job, I'll fasten the process. Start library. So we import those things using object destructuring, and then we say use context. Here, if you type in that, you see right above, import it straight away. You don't have to manually key in that thing. And then you want to import that app context tab. You see that thing got imported straight away. You don't have to manually key in again. Okay? This is the fast way. The fast way is just when you go to the page, you want to use that use context hook, you type in this line directly instead of do the importing. While you're typing, if you do it correctly, it will import it for you. Okay? And then we semicolon close that. Soon as we have that, we can use the library array to add and remove things. And think about how we add things into the library array when we click on the like button. We're going to write a new function, right, to handle that event. So const, we say handle add to library equals to car, because it's going to take a car object. We have to know which car you want to add it to the new library array, and that's going to be an arrow function. So here we're just going to say set library. Set library is the function that will set the state of the variable library. We're going to set it into a new array. Inside this new array, this is a JavaScript syntax. We're going to do a spread operator. Dot 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 library. This part of the code means I want to copy the existing item inside the library array. I want to copy the existing item inside the library array, comma, then add on a new item, which is the new car that has just been passed in. The new car is an object. Array contains object. Perfect match. Okay? So this is how the thing works. And then once you generate a new array, you set the old library array to the new one. That's how you update it. So only one line of code allows you to add item into an array. This is how easy React.js can be. And of course, it requires you to have a higher level of knowledge of JavaScript, I would say. Normally, in ES6, we have these new features. In the old way, we have to use push. If you use push, that's probably still going to be working, but the one that I show you is a more fancier way, a much advanced way of handling array. This one works much better than the push one. Okay, so we have that add function, and then we just want to do the remaining things. When the user remove item, because this button allows the user to click twice, toggle it. If the user the first time clicked the like button, they're going to be added to the library. They clicked again, the item is going to be removed from the library. Okay, so we have to do the remove function as well. Let's just say handle remove from library. We still have to tell you which item you want to remove. So we need to pass in the car object as the parameter, and then do the arrow function. This time what we're going to do is the library. We're going to use the JavaScript, the higher order filter function to handle it. We're going to filter out the things that we want to kick out. Filter. And then here we just need to set up the rules. Item, arrow function. We want to find out which item is the one that you do not want to keep inside this array. And we use the ID to track it. Okay, so item dot underscore ID. This means we're going to loop through each single item, each individual item inside the library array and get their ID. If that ID does not equal to the ID you want to kick out, which is the car you pass in, we're going to keep those. So the filter will find whatever the item that satisfies this condition. So all the things the ID does not equal to the one that you want to kick out will stay in the array, and the remaining things will be kicked out. Okay, so we use this it's like a boolean, true or false, to set out the router, the filter for the library array. As soon as you finalize that, this thing will return you a new array. The new array will contain the item by not including the one you just kicked out. And we have to reset our library array to this new array. That's the logic of the state. How you're going to handle state in React.js is a big topic. Whenever the state changes, you have to reset the state to the new one. This is the new state, how you want it to be. But if you do not reset it, it will stay as the original state. Okay, so we cut this for now, and we set library to that new array. That's it. It's only two simple lines of code. There's one line of code. Another line of code will handle the add to library, remove from library events. Magical thing. and it only happens in React.js. Vanilla JavaScript cannot do this. I tell you, it does not have a state variable. It does not have that state hook to do this kind of job. The vanilla JavaScript, if you want to do this, it's going to be very, very difficult, I would say you. Not difficult in terms of the understanding, but difficult in terms of the line of code you have to write. Okay, so we have those two functions done. The next step is to put those two functions, link them to the button. When the user click on it, add or remove, how are we going to decide the user should add the item or remove the item? Because we only have one button here. Okay, the one button will handle two jobs. It's a toggle. It depending on if the item the user trying to click on has been included in our library or not. Think about it. If the item has been included in our library, basically means that the user must liked it before. And the next time the user clicks the next button, the like button, the user must intend to remove it, right? If the item never has been included in the library array, that means that the user never liked it before. So when the user clicks on the button, it should be added to the library array. That's the logic behind it. We use that include or not include logic to handle this problem. All right. So here we're just gonna say onClick. We create onClick events. OnClick. And inside the onClick events, we're just first gonna ask one question. Does the library array includes that car object? This will return you as a boolean true or false. If it includes that car object, it will be true. Otherwise, it will return you as a false. Okay, this is the JavaScript simple function. If you have zero knowledge with JavaScript, I would say that this course may be really challenging for you. It is a React course for beginners, but based on the consumption, the assumption that you have a solid knowledge of JavaScript. If you have zero knowledge of JavaScript, never used JavaScript before, this is not the best place for you to start off. You must learn JavaScript first before you use this one. Okay. If you have a good knowledge of JavaScript but never used React before, it's absolutely no problem for you to catch up. You watch a couple of my videos, you will learn the whole things about React. Really easy to handle. And we check this out. They will return you with a boolean. And if that's true, basically means the library has already included the car inside it. And what we want to do is that we turn on the remove function. Because think about it, the library has the car, the user click the button again, the intention of the user must be to remove it. Okay, so we're just gonna trigger this one on, and then that one there, turn this on. We have to pass in that car object in it, remove it. Otherwise, if the library does not include the car, basically means the user never logged it before, and the handle add to library function. So here it's gonna be that. Oops, not curly brace, just that one. Just that one. We put in the car as a variable. So now it looks much nicer. Include the car. If the library has that car, the user click on the like button must to remove it. If the library does not include that car, the user click on the like button, the intention of the user must be to add it. Okay, so that's the logic. And it works all perfectly in the end. Let's just try and test it out. But one final thing is that when the user click on the like button, the CSS should change. Because if you look at the Cardo CSS, we have it set out here. The like button on hover and on active should all be set to red in color and the background white. So we haven't put on the CSS effect for the active classes. And now let's just do that. So we change the like item. Here we put on the curly braces to enable template literal like. Put in the static class name first. And then think about how are we going to turn on or turn off that like. Using what logic? Same logic here, right? If the library included, we show one type of class. But basically means that if the library include the item, the user must have liked it. So we show one type of class. Otherwise, we show the other. So money sign, that one serve as a boolean, question mark. If the library include that one, the user must have liked it. So we show the active class name. Otherwise, undefined. That's all. Right? That's all. And we're going back there. We haven't liked any item yet, but if we click on, you can see that one gets stay, that one stay, that one stay. But how do we find out if those three items I just liked has been added into our library array? We can use our header for testing for now. Okay? Just use the header. Going back to the header. Now in the header, we want to access that library. This is useless. Delete that. We want to use that library array, same as our card. So we're just going to copy and paste in that line of code. Here in the library, I want to use it again. And let me see if this works. Yeah, that one's working. And also, let's see if this works. Working. Yeah, I'm just showing the lazy way of importing stuff. I have this line of code. I just delete the last letter and then retype it. It'll show up that reminding thing message, and then you just tab to import all the things. Otherwise, you have to do the typing. And we have accessed the library shared in the app inside our header. So over here, we created a badge. Previously, we just put in the 0 there, but now we want to put in the numbers of items has been included in our library array, right? So here we say library.length. And then we save the file to see if it's working on the browser. We have this one length of that array showing as the badge number. So going back to the browser, you will see that one magically has turned to 3 because we have like the 3 item before. If I toggle one of these, you see that one reduced to 2, and this one's color going back to red. Yep, it's working. It's all working fine. I'm toggle this one, and that one reduced to 1. Toggle this one, go back to 0 because I got nothing locked in our library array. So if I just try a few other things, like this one and like this one, there's 2 items that I just liked. This one shows 2, which is the length of my library array. It's all working now. Okay, so pretty super cool. Remember how to build this like facilities in your React app. It's quite useful. You're going to use it pretty much on every single app nowadays. To be honest, I haven't seen any app that does not have this kind of feature. Most of the app will have a card, the item card or product card. You will have this like function in it. This is how we probably handle it. So the next job is that instead of showing the numbers of the item being liked, we have to demonstrate the exact item that has been put into our library. We have to build our library page to map all of the things inside our library array. Okay, so what we're going to do is that I'm going to touch on this one and just close off the few other things, and this one as well. But so far this is all working. The locked item is working, showing there. The detailed page is working. If I click on the detailed page, it's going to the detail. Going back, the title works as well. It's going back to the detail. Yeah, the card is all working fine now. So now, what I want to say is that the library page is going to be very similar to the vehicle page. You think about it. It's just that the thing they're going to map are different. The vehicle page is going to map the data which contain all the vehicle original data in here. However, in the library page, it's going to map the data from our library array. It's just the data difference. Okay. Other than that, the structures or the layout, the CSS settings are very similar. So I'm just going to build a library page real quick. So here I turn up this one and also the CSS one. And going back, this one has been linked up, all good. So delete that. And here we're just going to set up the ID for that one to be a library. And also I want a class name. Give it a generic class name or page. You should be very familiar with this setting now because you have seen this at least 3 times. And we have that specific class name for it. And inside we want that banner image. And image. Source. So we want to import our BG image from that image folder. Yes, that's done. So we're just going to import that as an object. And then in terms of the class name, I will give a class name of image fluid. And also page image. So that's done. And if we're going back to see the library, so this one, click on, it should take us to the library page because we have set it in the part 1 video, and the background image is there. So it's now working. And after that, what we want to do is to put on our page title because we have defined our page title component. So here we can use it straight away. And before that, we want to wrap everything inside a container. And then we're going to have our page title, the second one. Put it in, and we're going to set the property for it, which is the title. Because remember, when we build the component, we need 2 properties, title and subtitle. So this one's going to be our vehicles library, and the subtitle to be "Here are your vehicle collections." Easy. So now going back, you can see that title has been built straight away. This is the beauty. Once you have all of those components pre-built, the more that you build your application, the more you find this as easy can be. And because later on, your job is just going to reuse the component you had pre-built before, and the workload is getting much lower actually. And down here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the data inside our library array and map it. But we haven't imported the library array from our context yet. So what I will do another object destructuring. I need that library from our context. So here I'm going to say use context hook, import automatically for me. And I also want the context variable app.context import automatically for me. This one, the library, I'm going to rename it to cars because that looks much clearer. And down here, I'm just going to do the mapping. Everything must be wrapped inside a row. And inside the mapping is very easy, but we have to do a test first. The test is about if the library array is empty or not. Because if it's empty, we got nothing to show to the user. But at least we should let the user know that your library is now empty. Okay, you can go somewhere else, right? So that kind of protection. So the first thing is write those JavaScript cars dot length. If the length of the library equals to 0, we're going to ask if that's true. And if that's the scenario, what we're going to do is that we're going to create a new component here and the text center. And inside, we're going to build a h3 and give the class name called empty. And inside, we say you have no collections. And then we want to put in a button. The button is going to be the link. So the link coming from the React router DOM, you see here, auto import is working. Even though we have that trick, but every time you import something new, you just have a look at it above to see if it has been successfully imported, just in case. And that one is, we're going to close that one. If you don't have any collections, you probably want to browse the vehicle, so we'll send you back to the catalog page. So here we just say browse vehicles, and above it, I'll give a class name, say browse, because later on we have to define this button. And 2, that will send to the user to the vehicles page. However, if you do have something inside your library, we do not want to show this empty message, right? We want to show a new message, which is about our mapping. So we want to map everything inside our car into our what? We want to map it into what? We want to map it into the vehicle card, right? We're still going to show the item in card. So here it's going to be very simple. Just say vehicle card, self-closing, give the ID of the car dot underscore ID, and then we have to pass in that car as a property as well. That's it. You see, you can write a whole piece of the JavaScript code and also the HTML code inside React.js, as long as you have a very clear logic and you know what you're doing. So this is a huge conditional statement, the question mark and the boolean here. So just asking if the card is empty, if the library's array is empty. If empty, we show the empty message, otherwise we map the car, right? So it's very easy. So now if you're going to see, cannot define that name card. What's going on here? Let's see. Oh yeah, that's a simple typo. I spelled the library incorrectly. It's no A. And now go back, it's there. So you got no collection, which is going to browse it. Now it's 0, so we just like this one, like this one, like this one. Now we have 3 going in. You have the 3 item here inside your library. Click again, remove it, click again, remove it, click again, remove it. Now your card is empty, right? Your library is empty. All working. The final last job is to make sure this one styles correctly. So we're going to the styling of that library and put on things that we need. Only a few lines of code. One is to control that the button. The other one is to control that message title. So the empty message, we want to make sure it has our theme font and also make it larger. The button, we just want to make sure it has a certain padding, a square button, very standard one. So going back, it looks all nice now. Even have the hover effects. So going back to the browse page, I like this one, and actually I do like this Lamborghini, and also the my favorite Maserati, and also those three being liked. Going to the library, you see those 3 items has been listed there, all cool and nice. Right, it's really dynamic. If I remove it, it's supposed to be working. Okay, so I have finalized our library page as well. Just close that off. If you're going back to here, now we have pretty much done the banner page, the vehicle page, and also the detailed page, and the library page, and also the service page, the contact. The service page and contact page I haven't done yet, but what I want to say is that I'm not going to show in this video how to do those 2 pages, because these are a very typical item to be created. It's nothing really special, no functionalities or other kind of outstanding skills I want to teach you. So if you do want to have the full copy of the code, you can go to my online shop to buy it. Otherwise, you can just create those pages on your own, because you have learned heaps of stuff from the previous video and also this video. And for those 2 tiny pages, I would say that's going to be a very easy job if you have learned something, right? Give that as an opportunity for yourself to have a practice. If you have any challenges or any questions, leave a message down below. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Otherwise, this is the end of the video. So to wrap up, so far, in this 2 sessions video, we have learned how to build a dynamic and animated banner with all of those mechanical effects. You can see when I swap between one to another slide, it's like a departing. It's kind of a departing feeling it's giving to the user. And all of the data here are dynamic, right? We learned how to map our API data into this banner component. And also we learned how to build a dynamic header as well with all of those toggle effects on and off. And this button will lead you to different pages. The vehicle page, the service page, we haven't built it yet, but it's quite simple. The contact page, and also the header, right? And also on the banner page, we'll learn how to build the toggle events for video and image to switch to another. And here we learned how to build an individual page. The key thing for this course, for this session, is to teach you how to build a multiple page website using React Roller DOM, and we have done the job, successfully achieved the target. Okay, so this allows you to see the detailed page for each individual item. And because I use heaps of amounts of image, it'll give the feeling that every item got their own customized page. You will see when you go to the Lamborghini's page, it's entirely different from where you go to this McCollum's page. The style, the theme color, all changes, right? Except that the layout doesn't change, but the background image, everything changes. It's like each car will get their own customized individual page, which is really cool. And also in this course, we have also learned the more vehicle page, where you get to see how to build a catalog page demonstrating all the product cards. And we spend heaps of times to learn how to build this sophisticated, fancy product card, which hold too many things: the title, how to do the rating stuff, how to do the like button, how to do the detailed link button, everything. Okay? So if you do learn something and you like my project, please subscribe my channel and leave a like message down below. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to share my video to your friends, you can learn together. I'm more than happy to help if you've got any questions. Other than that, I will see you in the next video to show you a more exciting project. Bye for now.